wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and I thought, what would happen if, for a change, instead of being late, I started things 1 minute early, just to surprise everybody. And today we will be keeping things short, keeping things fast. Our last stream last week, the viewers' game analysis, that was kind of very dense and the games were very complex. Here, it's more be a bit of a fun, relaxed stream, and we will be analyzing 3 games that have something in common. The thing that they have in common is that these are not normally the types of games that we tend to analyze and that we tend to learn from, but we will, because we should analyze all kinds of games. And probably by the second game, you will realize what these games have in common exactly. What else? Oh yeah, I ordered them in such a way that would save the most entertaining game for last. That this is all that I can say. So the first game was sent to us by Edward, who will be playing with the red meeple. Oh, nice rating, by the way, 578 already. That's pretty cool. And we're playing against the username Jack Attacks with the blue meeples. I'm not sure who that player is. It appears to be, I forgot if that was a real-time or turn-based game, but I think it does not matter exactly. Alrighty. So we start. We take 4 points. High Craft, Giraffe, High Glavier. Jack Attacks goes over here. We, of course, take the 4-point road. So far, so good. They connect. Here we have several interesting options, all legit moves. The most aggressive move is to go over here and place a meeple on this road. And you might say that, what's the point of fighting for this road? Your opponent will take a curve and then block this connection. Well, that's fine. We still get 1 point for this road, and there's still 8 crossroads remaining, so we'll just start a new road. And sometimes, just sometimes, let's say if our opponent gets a couple of city tiles, then we get to snatch this big roads like this as compensation. So that's definitely a legit move. Another legit move is simply to go over here, and it's probably like the most conservative option, and it is more powerful than it might think. First of all, it creates an opportunity for us to split, for example, to put a straight line and then maybe put a straight line over here and have a longer road versus a shorter road by our opponents. But on the other hand, if we place this curve over here, it also impedes our opponent's city in a way which is more annoying than we thought. Because look at this, 1 dagger is out. So if our opponent draws something like a city cap and places it over here, then suddenly we place another curve over here, and there are not 3 but only 2 tiles that got here. So it's, and then there is a really good blocking chance to go to continue with this. So if anything, our opponent has like only really one productive way of developing the city. It's with Doritos and Doritos and Doritos. So even this one move, it's quite powerful. All right, see, but what? And you actually did this. I forgot. Okay, well done, and also the right orientation. That's really nice. And exactly, yeah. The thing. Yes, perfect. The exact sequence that we just described happened. So, very well done. Nice precision on your part. Blue continues the road. It's not like blue has nothing better, much better to do. Then we gotta start a new city, maybe here, or oh, here's actually a pretty safe spot, because yeah, if we start a new city over here, your opponents can't block, because then they would be subjecting their own meeple to attack. But also the problem is, if your opponent can't block, you can't attack the city either, because then you will be obstructing your own city. So I think either here or here is fine. Let's see where you choose. You choose this one, yeah, perfectly legit. And this city cap, it sort of secures this connection for your opponent, but once his road is 2 points and your road is 4 points, there's really not that much of a difference whether he connects or not. And if anything, your road is slightly vulnerable over here, so I think it's definitely a legit move. What should they do? They should probably... That's actually a really strong move on their part. Wow, that's not a 400 level move. It's like either a 200 level move or a 700 level move. I don't think players who are in between typically do that. Okay, now, yeah, it's not that of an easy situation for you. So I think you have several strong moves over here. You can simply start a new city. You can close this one, but I think it's a bit weak. Or you can go over here. And I actually really like this move. So there is a problem, of course. The problem is that blocking like this has the lowest blocking probability, but you compensate. Well, for example, like if you were to turn it like this, then of course the blocking probability would be much higher, right? Because the city face is facing into the blocking square. That's what you remember. With an equal-ish tile distribution, and you know the game has just started, so there is an equal tile distribution in the deck. This city side is the most powerful blocking tool, but of course you're not going to waste a city cap just on a blocking attempt, right? So you might do this and then block later, but blocking later would require waiting until you have a right tile, and the only type of right tile for blocking is maybe something like this, right? So you get a curve and a city cap, and you can start a new city, and then you block with tempo. Because you really don't want to be wasting... Okay, a road tile is fine, but still it's like not the best blocking tile that is out there. Or maybe something like this is alright. Like you go over here, put the city like this, meeple a 2-point road, so that's also possible. Yeah, so the reason why I like this move is because, well, first of all, it still indirectly continues your city, puts pressure on this city, and even though the probability of blocking is lower, it's actually... I forgot what it was, but basically your opponent has a greater chance of defending than you blocking. It's like 45-ish% or something like this. It's like definitely in the mid-40s. You compensate by simply doing the block for earlier. Because what could happen if you wait for the perfect blocking tile while your opponent is just going to draw one of these two daggers. Alright, see. Yeah, you just finish your city, which is fine. I like the other move. I think it was a bit stronger. So Jack attacks is... Okay, so now they're actually making a mistake. The thing is, if you're going to do the thing, like, do the thing. I mean, he was obviously planning to snatch the road, right? And I think you could still do that. It's okay. Like, from Blue's perspective, yes, of course, you could draw a straight line and split this. Well, okay, fine. Then you're just going to draw one of those. So I think aggression is mandated here on the part of Blue. Yeah, you see, you start a new city over here, and you continue with a blocking attack, and that's pretty nice. There is, of course, a problem with this type of block. The problem is that your opponent could draw crossroads and score 2 points and defend with tempo, so that's a bit inconvenient. No, but still, your move is alright, because you really don't want to be taking this city cap and splitting this road whilst your meeple is vulnerable like this, because your opponent is one city tile away from blocking all the square, so you might want to be sure that both of these meeples are blocked together. Yeah, so, okay, that's a good move. Your opponent starts a new city. Yeah, we're not going to, of course, look too much at your opponent's play because they're low rated, but you know, some of our viewers are also either beginner or intermediate level players, so then I should also address this. The problem of that move is threefold. So first of all, I think it actually might be worth using the city cap for defense. I mean, it's a bit iffy. Okay, it's fine that it didn't do that, but if you are going to start a new city, of course you start it over here pointing upwards. Like, it's not even a question. It's the safest spot, and you make a nice loop over here. So now, if anything, Blue is just asking to get blocked. either with a straight line, and then blue will end up needing the same type of tile in two places, or with an elaborate combination of like a triple city plus a triangle, so then this meeple will be tied together to this square. And then of course you continue the block. Yeah, nicely done. Your opponent takes the city, then you should probably, you know what, yeah, I mean, it's fine. But your opponent is about to complete the city. You're much better off trying to tie that city, and then you can finish that city later. I know that some players don't like doing that because your opponent has a chance of like getting another city cap and then getting a triple city and fighting back, but it does not happen often enough, really. And I'll tell you why. So if you don't block, if you don't try to connect to the city, then your opponents can benefit from any kind of city cap and immediately get his meeple back. But if you do try and connect to the city, then your opponent can benefit only from a city cap that fits here. So there are actually fewer tiles that do damage to you. And if your opponent tries and fight for the city with anything other than a city cap, it's actually not that dangerous, because if your opponent grabs the triangle, goes over here, then your opponent's, let's say like you have a city cap over here, your opponent grabs a triangle, then it's not that dangerous if your opponent gets a triple city, because you still will have one more chance to connect over here when that happens. But your move also makes perfect sense, well, for a couple of reasons. One is because your opponent has two cities, so you will still have time to attack one of them, and because both of them are kind of vulnerable. So this one we already talked about, and this one's now vulnerable for both sides. But fortunately for you, your opponent does not draw any kind of city cap. Hi Kirill, and hi fan club from Thailand. That's really nice. Will we be expecting a team at the World Team Carcassonne Online Championships from Thailand? That would be pretty cool. No, interestingly, like Thailand's definitely the right countries for Mindsport, because for many people this would be a surprise. Thailand is one of the strongest countries in the world for competitive Scrabble. Like they're at least one or maybe multiple world champions are from Thailand, and like they have this really big, well, like a competitive scene in schools as well. That's really nice. So yeah, and of course Carcassonne and Scrabble do have some similarities as well. Yeah, well, anyway, you're now playing really well. Like seriously, you're starting a new city, blocking from the correct side, because you're giving your opponent one fewer tile to finish your to finish their city. So you're mindful of the dagger asymmetry, right? Because there's only one dagger like this remaining, and two right-handed daggers. Your opponents can probably finish a city, start a new one. Yeah, that makes sense. Then you just finish your city, you sort of build around, prepare a block. And your opponent gets a city, and honestly, they should just drop a farmer here. Yeah, they have to. So not only do, like, not dropping a farmer here is just a massive mistake. Like, you just, so they're, not only there are 3 cities, which is already enough to justify a farmer even if it never grows, but the chances of it never growing are virtually 0. It's just a ginormous field. And, you know, there's a monastery spot potentially, so this city enters into the field. This city was going to be completed, so of course it's quite a significant oversight on the part of your opponents. I can see that maybe they need meeples and stuff, and they don't want to be engaged in big field fights because they are meeple down, and if anything they should be looking for alternative win condition. But even if that is the case, you still have to drop a farmer, because now First of all, it's a move that just gives you 9 immediate points. Like, why would you not take 9 immediate points when you have so many meeples still in hand? And this would also force red, you, to invest at least 2 meeples in order to win this field, and invest at least 4 moves, right? Because you need to, let's say, drop a farmer and then connect. Then you need to drop a farmer and then connect. So these are 4 more tiles. But if you don't meeple the field, then then red, you, can take the field immediately, which of course you do. Yes, in the best possible spot, also blocking this meeple and also making sure that blue cannot finish his city and drop a farmer. Wait, 4 cities in the field. What am I hallucinating? Nope, 3. Because 1, 2, 3. Oh, 4. It's already in the field. I do tend to hallucinate a lot. Oh yeah, so in that case, like, I mean, so blue's play is like completely inexcusable. Anyway, they should meeple the monastery now. But they instead go for the road. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This actually makes sense. This actually makes sense. Yeah, and it is better than meepling the monastery because there's still 3 tiles remaining that give them 10 immediate points. So it is it's a really good move on their part to recognize that it is better to use the monastery not as a monastery. And this way they would be getting 2 points, 10 points with 2 tiles, this one and this one. But if they were to meeple the monastery, they would be getting 9 points with 3 tiles. So if they meeple a monastery, this is 3 points per tile. But if they did what they do, this is 5 points per tile. So this is a really strong move on the part of our opponent, and one this is actually not obvious to see. Okay, yes. Thank you. Everybody's correcting me that there are 4 cities. Hi Vika, hi Crafty. Hi, Wise Maze. Yeah, that makes sense. I would probably meeple this. Like, you have meeples. Yeah, I see no reason not to meeple this. Because, like, your opponent could, if they're smart, like, they could maybe try and meeple this now and then just hope that you don't block them. This would be a mistake. But like, given that you're ahead quite significantly, because you are ahead on the farm, you have 1 meeple extra, you're probably going to lose this road. But like, given that you have 5 meeples, I would just want to prevent my opponent drawing a lucky sequence of tiles and getting out of this situation. No, I mean, not meepling this is of course not a mistake. They start a new city, which would normally okay, but this is a mistake because they're starting the city in what is potentially a field which will belong to you, or at least which currently belongs to you. So from their perspective, strategically, they of course should be starting a new city over here down below, so that at least it is not in the main field. Or maybe they can start a new city over here, then hope that you drop a second farmer to secure this field, and then they can build a smaller counter field over here. So maybe if you have 15 points with 2 meeples, they can have 1 point with 1 meeple, and they can have 9 points with 1 meeple. Like, if you imagine a small field over here, so this would give them a bit more winning chances. You start a new city, of course, you just want to continue blocking. Your opponent attacks you, you continue the block. Now there's only 1 tile remaining, and of course, Jack Attack should defend, which he does. And honestly, his situation is difficult, he should meeple this. Yep, well done. Doesn't matter if this is risky. And now comes the move where you ask me sort of a question. That you asked me a question about when you were sending the video to me. Is where to place this monastery. So actually, that's a question to you. Where to place this monastery, given that... So there are, of course, multiple possible spots. At least I mean, to most of you, 2 spots would stand out. So there are like 2 high-scoring spots. This is 6 points. This is 6 points. But if we just look positionally, and also from the point of view to try and get your meeples back as soon as possible, if you want to have a chance for getting your meeples back, which one is actually the safer spot? Okay, Crafty is saying 17, not 8. 8 spot is blockable in 1 move. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. 8 is blockable in 1 move. Interesting. So Wise Maze is saying never on the upper one. Okay, you will find this weird, but I disagree with y'all. I actually think the move is to go over here. So here's the reason. This spot is actually not that safe because it's a bit awkward to build around. You see, you can build around with only one kind of tile. Basically, well, just curves. You can also use Doritos and other monasteries and stuff, but I don't know. It is a bit inflexible, and if anything, you might not get your meeple back, not because you get blocked or anything, but just because you don't draw enough tiles and you don't have enough time to put over here. The reason why I do love this spot, actually, even though it is blockable in 1 move, first of all, we have a lot of meeples we can kind of afford to get blocked, and second, if we just survive that 1 move, we have much more flexibility in how we can build this around. Like, I don't know, we can draw. We can use row tiles productively. That is my point with this. And also, I don't know, we can draw some sort of a Dorito, then we can draw something over here, and they can build around like this. I mean, I know it's a very weird move, but there's also one other consideration. One of the considerations is that we're getting an extra point over here if our opponent draws a curve, and if our opponent never draws a curve, then sort of our fates are tied in the sense that they have 1 point road meeple blocked and we have an 7 point monastery blocked. But there's more. One of the reasons why I kind of didn't want to place the monastery over here, it is because of our leads that we have. One of the ways how we losing this game is us losing this game definitely involves our opponent drawing a curve. So there are 3 curves remaining. But this means that if our opponent draws at least 1 or maybe 2, then there are fewer curves for us to finish this monastery over here. Moreover, our opponent is going to finish this city over here and earlier than we are going to continue this monastery, and then maybe they will have some sort of blocking platform over here. So I know this is very, very weird, but just given the overall game situation, I kind of like this move a lot. This is perfectly legit as well. All right, now let's see how angry you are at me in the chat. Glovier is saying blockable, but the ruin can grow. Yes, exactly. And 17 extends the field, but that's the question. How much do we care about extending the field? Our field is already big enough. Southwest 33. Southwest 33. Ah, like this. Wait, but this is different. Not 2 of your meeples will be blocked in 1 move, only 1 meeple. So the thing that I think Crafty was referring to, if your opponent draws something like this, and then he would place it over here, because there are no daggers remaining that go like this. But this sort of block is less dangerous because we have defense for a 50-50. And second, like this guy, I wouldn't count on it surviving anyway. So... Yes, I see. So okay, at least Glovier is on the same page. Like, who needs 4 meeples in their hand? Just grab points. So, okay, block from 4C. What are your 4C? What is 4C? Oh yes, from this one, from the quadruple city. Oh, there aren't any starting tiles remaining. Oh, they are. Where did the last starting tile go? Oh, when we're starting on the city over here. Yeah, this kind of changing things, but on the other hand, does it? I mean, I still prefer grabbing the points. Like, again, this may seem, well, I know it is very weird, but they're okay. One thing that I learned about Carcassonne is that very often the strongest moves are the one that's like, you just put the stuff where it looks the prettiest and then just wait for good things to happen. So for example, if we go over here and our opponent draws one of the many Doritos to block us and go over here, this also means that our opponent spends a Dorito on not saving his city over here. So then, if we go here, our opponent gets a Dorito like this, and we get a Dorito like this, and we, well, not like this, but we get a Dorito like this, and we block our opponent. So we exchange meeples, except that who does this benefit? The side that has more meeples. Also, it benefits the side whose ruin can grow, as opposed to if we block this guy, this ruin can't grow. But, I don't know, yeah, I mean, this is obviously fine, but I would be very curious to see, like, how it sims in terms of win percentage. Wise Maze is saying you're the 800 player by definition, right? Not by definition. I wouldn't say that actually. Because first of all, there's definitely stuff that I don't know, and if you've seen me these streams, like you know that I tend to sometimes hallucinate with fields and something like this. Yeah, and also like when I reach 900, then we can talk about me not being able to be wrong. But now, of course, I absolutely can't be wrong. Oh, yeah. Well, at least I have some support in the chat. Alrighty. Anyway, perfectly legit move. Like, no need to get extra fancy. Perfectly legit. Your opponent gets a defense. And what should we do now? That's a very good question. We could start a new city over here. We could even equalize our opponent's city, as crazy as it sounds, just to take advantage of our meeple advantage. Or... But you see, this is the thing with expanding our field. Like, I kind of want to place the city cap over here. And maybe even leave it open. Yeah, maybe that's actually pretty good. Because then your opponent maybe meeples finishes the city, drops a farmer, but this gives us more time to block this guy, and maybe we take this city cap and then drop a farmer. We still have the firepower to attack the field, so maybe this is not bad. But again, like, as I wouldn't have put this monastery there in the first place, I don't know what is correct. Yeah, perfectly legit move. I like it. They should probably be dropping a farmer now, because it's a chance for them to get a counter field. But I understand why they didn't. Ah, now. And you see, now I remember also you asked me about this monastery placement. And so here's the thing. Since we didn't go with our plan, now actually you gotta continue with the plan, because, well, the main advantage of this monastery is that it allows us to continue our monastery with monasteries. So you go over here and you get curved straight line and you stack them. So I think that's the idea, but you went over here. And here, again, okay, lovely move. But here I think it is problematic because you do realize that you're not going to see, like, there's just no way how everything here gets completed. It's a bit of an awkward formation. I mean, you could have a curved straight line. Yeah, maybe something like this. But I kind of see that it's more likely that you just get 3 meeples blocked. I mean, it's all right. It's all right. But after you've played this monastery meeple over here, this is just simply more efficient. So let's think about it like this. With this move, you just gained 6 points. With this move, you would be gaining 5 points and 2 squares for which you can gain 2 points instead of 1. And you would be bringing this guy closer to completion. And you would also be having another monastery spot next to yourself nearby. So I do think that this is the stronger move. And then you get an attacking platform on the city, or if your opponent does finish the city, then you get an opportunity to attack this. So after you play this monastery over here, I think this one is a bit stronger. Wise Maze is saying Carcassonne is too swingy for right 900. I have to disagree, because the thing, well, first of all, like, my rating at the moment is 816, which conveniently for the time of the stream does happen to be the highest one on the platform, but I don't feel like I'm in good shape. This is 816 with making mistakes, with making miscounts, even with stuff like this. I feel like if I really, you know, devoted some time and started caring about rating, I could have maybe try and push for it. And also, I never did really like try to push for rating on purpose, or you know, the first time I got over 850 and like sent a screenshot to my teammates, they said me, oh, you know, you should stop playing for like a week just so that it stays there, or you should make a second account and play with a second account, because well no, like what's the point? I mean, it's just a number. Yeah. So I do believe that there is potential for like somebody. I think like there's a potential for a human to reach 900 in classical Carcassonne, and for some sort of AI to reach 1,000. Like I think we're still we haven't reached the full potential of the game yet. Okay, more stuff. Yeah, exactly. It depends on opponents. So, for example, if you want to really work out your rating, then you avoid certain opponents. For example, I mean, I would probably just like just not play other masters as well, because you obviously can't manufacture a win, and you know, just maybe get these 2-3 rating points every game, just for the purpose of climbing. Great question, Raf. So, okay, but let's say you put your first monastery in the middle gap. What do you do with the second move? It would have to be this configuration. This is an excellent point, actually, yeah. This is an excellent point. Because then you would sort of have to put it over there. Well, because you see, like, the plan was, of course, to build this monastery not by monasteries. The plan was to build it with road tiles. But then I wonder, do we do something else? Maybe like, do we just place it here? It does seem subpar. Now with that thing in mind, yeah, I probably like this move before just so that we can continue over here. It's very interesting. Yeah, that's a great point. I think that thing should actually probably sway the argument into me playing this monastery in the first place. Still hard to deny a monastery which is like 2 tiles away from completion, but I guess this is indeed a little bit stronger. But then, so you see, like, if we place the monastery over here initially, we have a better use for monastery, right? Because we have monastery spots nearby, unlike this placement. But we don't have good uses for road tiles. We don't have good uses for these 4. So that was my concern. But maybe it's just okay. We're gonna have 4 useless tiles in the deck. Maybe it's not such a horrible idea. And at the time, there were city caps open, so it was actually useful for a blocking attack. Yeah, you know, actually, okay, I agree with you now. I agree with you now. But a very subtle decision. Maybe this was, in fact, the better monastery placement. But not because of blocking, because of these positional considerations. Crafty saying, are you switching to camp 500, 600? Well, I have to say, I have lost games before because I like needlessly overcomplicated stuff. And I have been told that by other leading players as well. Yes, Glavir is saying if the order is relevant. I completely agree. Oh, actually, another point is, you know, it may sound weird. It will sound completely sacrilegious, but if we are to place here, I could first, then when we get this monastery, it's not outrageous to use it as a field tile and just forego the monastery. But I know, horrible. Well, oh, this one I think has to be a mistake, no? Because you better go over here. Because if your opponents can block you in one move, you better go somewhere where you can't be blocked. And this square is nothing to worry about because there are still 4 Doritos left. And then you very nicely prepare for yourself a curve plus straight line. That kind of monastery completion. Moreover, if you go over here, if you draw like a straight line, you can put it over here to prepare a curved straight line. So I do think that going 1 square lower is better. But still, your move makes sense. It is alright. Well, hi Melvin. Oh man, that's a pity that you joined only now. I'll be very curious to hear. Well, anyway, after this, you have to rewind like to about 20 minutes back, where we were discussing where to place this, where to place Red's first monastery when Red drew the first monastery, which was this one. Well, anyway, but yeah, because you have a reputation for being a very greedy player, and we share that. Obviously, I would be very curious what you do there. Anyway, we'll just continue in just a second. Yeah, so they continue their city in a risky way, but it's fine because we can't really block, we can't really use a shield. We should continue with our plan. Probably either, yeah, I think like this, actually. Wait. Like this is probably best. Simply like this is also right, because the thing with shields, like it's better to use them in a place where you're almost guaranteed to complete your city. But then you're creating a bigger threat, so I like this move too. Okay, you do this one. This is also right. This is actually really good, because now your city can't be blocked, and you still have the... Yeah, this is actually perfect. The configuration of multiple Doritos, this sort of city. No, you're playing this really well. Like, you're actually playing really, really well so far. I don't think you've made a single mistake as Red. So even though what I was suggesting alternatively moves, like, you haven't made a single mistake, actually. So now, Jack attacks has only one move. It is finishing this city and dropping a farmer. Doesn't matter that this is blockable. It's still a good farmer. Drop it. No, like 3 meeples. There are several reasons why a farmer there is completely mandatory. So first of all, It's leaving a 4-point road open, and if you don't pose a threat, then as red, I will take the 4-point road. Then we might at least make sure that if red is going to take the 4-point road, we get compensation by immediately entering the field. But what if red draws a blocking tile, something like a Dorito like this? Then we put it over here, no, like with the city facing there. But then what can happen, we get another farmer over here from all the meeples that we suddenly have. And then we sneak in all the way through here with a majority of 2 farmers, and all with that efficiently with tempo. So there's really a lot of equity of just this farmer move for blue. And imagine this, if red draws a road tile, then there's suddenly a dilemma. Like if red draws the straight line, well, what do we do? Do we actually connect our opponent into the field? Do we try blocking? Like, we really can't do much with it. And final consideration for the farmer over here. This connection looks blockable, but then think, what are the blocking tiles? The blocking tiles are this and this, so there's 5 of those. But these are tiles that red really needs for his city. So by going over here, blue would force red to make a choice. Do we eliminate the threat of blue connecting to the field, and also eliminating this threat would not be a complete elimination, right? Because blue can still sneak around. Or do we continue our own city? So yes, of course, we see that blue is making quite a lot of mistakes. Mainly, all of them have to do with field play. Wise Maze is saying, there's several Carcassonne AI projects. Can I have a link to any one of them? Wait, is it Japanese guys are playing against a new website against AI? This is news to me. Please give me the links. I'm looking forward to just learning. So you start a second farmer, yeah, which makes sense actually. Your opponent starts another field, interestingly. Oh, yeah, okay, this also is all right. I would just use a different... Well, actually, it's pretty sneaky, because they're also pre-building a road. Like, they want to draw this tile, then maybe they want to draw a curve, drop a farmer, and then draw this tile, meeple the road, and... Yeah, it's quite a strong move, actually, on their part. Then, of course, you take the 3-point road, because you can do it safely now. And now... Well... I see a strong move for our opponents. They can place this Dorito tile over here, blocking 2 meeples at the same time, and also creating a connection platform against our city. Another move, which may seem crazy, is just to do something like this. Try to break apart and create a platform and make sure that you can't use triple city tiles productively anymore. But they, I think... They find this? Wow. I am impressed. Wow. Okay, I did not expect that. But then you, I think, make a mistake here. Yeah, your first mistake of the game. And you went over here and sort of blocked yourself completely. Whereas there was actually a chance to save one of these meeples. So what your move did, it just gave you a point, and that's it. Just a point. So I guess it does something else, like it makes sure that a monastery cannot go here, and then maybe, because now you're the side that suddenly has the meeple shortage, maybe you will lose the field fight if the field grows too big. But, I mean, if the monastery with the road goes over here, it kind of benefits you, because you still have, first of all, you still have outs technically to complete all of this if you draw a city cap. plus the road monastery. Like, you can go for the jackpot. And now it eliminates this option. So I'm very curious to hear what your considerations were. Why exactly you chose this move. But so if there were some positional considerations, like you actually wanted to eliminate that spot, it makes sense. But if it's just 1 point, well, then you're better off. Yeah, you're just better off doing it later, because there'll still be plenty straight lines with which you can do stuff like this. Yes, Crafty is saying this wasn't 100% block, but from your opponent perspective, you don't have to have 100%. If anything, this is like a 75% block, because, so if we just disregard this move, the only way for red to get back both meeples would be to put a city cap, and putting the city cap means also foregoing an opportunity for point scoring here, plus a road monastery. So just the disaster scenario, of course, still available. And with this thing, actually, blue would have probably used the straight line over here. So sort of you made the move that blue would have done for you. So and of course, the main part, it was a triple purpose move. So multiple blocks and a connection platform. So I do think that blue managed to find like one really strong move. And you see, they immediately eliminate the connection platform. So a better move for them was, of course, to go over here and make sure that this city has 2 platforms. It looks like it's starting a blocking attack, but not really, because it just covers up the city. You're still going to proceed with your plan. You still have multiple Doritos available, right? And so what you're going to do is you're going to put the Doritos with the road up top and the Doritos without the road at the bottom, and that's it. You have like a nice tile pool to draw from. To get a straight line. Maybe we should start eliminating field connections. Okay, maybe going here. Maybe actually I like going here, yeah, with a straight line. Because there's this field connection at the bottom, which is easy for our opponent to use. Then you could just simply draw another road tile and make sure that this field connection is eliminated. Actually, you could have done this with these 2 moves, here and here. VK is saying not making a move that your opponent could have made is a good heuristic. Actually, yes, absolutely. Just try to think about this. Is that something that your opponent would do for you? And if the answer is yes, then don't do it. Wait until your opponent does this. And of course, this is not like a psychological thing trying to read your opponent's mind. Just look, well, it's a bit of that as well if you know your opponent. But if you don't, does the position mandate your opponent doing that? And the answer is yes, then probably wait until they do it. Don't do it yourself. So one is, of course, one thing where this comes up is blocking. Another thing, it comes up with field connections. For example, if you are connecting through your opponent's feature, then maybe you want to wait until your opponent completes that feature and lets you in, as opposed to you completing that feature for your opponent. But it takes some skill to master these sort of standoffs. But here it was relatively straightforward. Just, you know, like maybe like just don't make a move that scores you 1 point and blocks 2 of your meeples permanently. It's as simple as that. Okay, your opponent starts a new city. You proceed with the plan of building that city. That's really a great find by you, to just look at the tile pool and realize that you have this machine to productively use tiles like this. That's nice move by your opponents. 9-point fields, still hoping to get a meeple back, and still many tiles to get a meeple back. Kind of blue is still not drawing any of these curves, so that's not great for you. Now here, of course, you cannot meeple monastery, but you can score 3 points at the bottom, which are technically 6 points because it also expands your field. But at this point, the size of your field doesn't matter. You just need to make sure that you're able to hold down this field. Yeah, your opponent goes over here, and you make this move, which I found quite impressive, actually. It's a very counterintuitive move to make. I thought at first that you would go over here and make sure that you have 2 city caps to finish your city. But the thing is, if you draw these city caps, this means that blue does not finish his city, so you're already benefiting. And of course, your opponent has some blocking tiles, but imagine if your opponent draws a tube-shaped extender. Of course, he has to go over here. This is an immediate sacrifice of 4 points. What if he draws a city cap? He kind of has to go over here, but then you get some sort of tile to defend. Or your opponents can still have plenty of tiles that are non-blocking, such as any of these road tiles, or the triple city with a road, or Dorito with a road. So this was a really nice recognition. Sometimes it's okay to make moves which have an opportunity for being blocked 100%. No, like sometimes it's okay move that risk being blocked with 100% chance. Why can't I phrase things properly? Sometimes it's okay to make moves that risk a permanent block if the upside is huge. And in this case, the upside is huge. But also, like, if your opponent, let's say, draws something like this and does block you, then the situation is still okay. Because if you draw another tile like this, which you could have used to complete the city, well, then if they block you, you block them. You could use this tile over here and break their city instead, and they're probably not getting a meeple back. Or at least anytime soon. Exactly, so they draw a tile with which they cannot do anything. They just continue their city, which is also kind of risky. And then, of course, you will defend, right? Yeah, great move. Yeah, that's a good move. It might be actually even more precise to defend pointing this with the city cap to the left so that the city stays more open. But given that both city caps like this are field city caps anyway, I think it's all right to turn it like that. You see, your opponent would have gotten a blocking tile, but they don't have it. So they just dump it in a way which is a bit unproductive. They actually should have turned this the other way to make sure that you need the same tile in both places, because now you can still use a Dorito to complete this field connection. Anyway, what do you do with this? I have no idea, to be honest. To just drop the monastery somewhere, think of some sort of spatial move. Maybe we go over here. And the reason for that is, like, if your opponent tries to connect through the field from here, then you will have a blocking platform. Yeah, something like this could work, but only marginal value can be gained from this move. Yeah, you go over here, which also makes sense, and I see, well, actually, no. Because you're blocking your field connection. It's sort of not ideal, really. I see what... Because you still have curves that you can use. If your opponent draws a curve over here, well, you get a curve over here and score 6 points. Of course, you still have a place to use curves. You can score 3 points over here, but it is, I think, useful to keep that option open. And I see what you were doing. You were actually trying to prepare a platform for a permanent block. Maybe you draw a triple city and stuff, and then you put something over here to block these 2 squares. But this is not that necessary, because if you draw a Dorito, not a Dorito, but a triple city tile, then you put it over here, and the main benefit of that move is actually not the fact that your opponent is tied to this particular city cap. There's still one of them remaining in the deck. The main move when you block stuff like this, when you take a, make this move, expanding your opponent's city in order to block, the main purpose is to make sure that they need 2 city caps instead of 1. So this is something that I'm working on. I actually haven't really fully mastered that part of the game. So for example, when it is appropriate to use a triple city to block your opponent or to try delay your opponent's city like this, when it is appropriate to use a shielded tile, when it's okay to sacrifice points, how exactly do you turn it? And I think a lot of that has to do with the parity of the number of the remaining city caps, and also with the number of remaining city caps in general. So by making this one move, you are giving your opponent a 25% chance instead of a 75% chance. Yeah, actually, how cool is this? If you don't do anything about this city, then it's a roughly 75% chance for your opponent to complete it because there's still 2 city caps. But if you place this tile over here and the orientation really doesn't matter that much, and whether it's blocked or not doesn't matter that much, well, your opponent needs to draw 2 city caps, both city caps instead of 1. So yeah, the number of remaining city caps really has a lot to do with this. And as you noticed, even though I said that we would be quick, we are almost an hour and we're not even into the end game. And why do I keep digressing all the time? Hopefully some of that makes sense. Did blue player make a good move starting the city on the top with only 3 city caps remaining, knowing that one of these city caps is needed for the restricted city on the map? At which point? So with the divider, I mean, of course, you like not with the divider, but with the extender, you have to do this. Just because it's just too much equity to give up. Earlier, this city over here. No, I think it was also fine because there were more city caps at that time. This city. I completely forgot about this. Yeah, great point. Great point. And so as a result, of course, no, like it was a problem that blue made. And yeah. And also from blue's perspective, he had to keep a meeple ready in hand so that he can meeple this juicy road. But, well, so far things are working out for blue. Like, it's not like we have any good options. Well, I guess go over here. Have more blocking out for this meeple. Go over here, save a field connection. And also pre-build a ruin for yourself. Oh, you're already meepling the ruin straight up. That's interesting. But wait, did you conclude that you actually win? Oh, but you have 3 outs for this. How do we forget about that? I actually kind of like the ruin then. So you are, of course, risking your field being taken away from you if your opponent goes over here. But then you don't really need a meeple to take care of that. Because if your opponent goes over here, there will be no more field connection spots available. But on the other hand, yeah, no, I kind of start liking your move more and more. So it has downsides in the sense that like you don't get to use the crossroads productively. That's a big problem. But then if your opponent draws a curve, he gives you a meeple back. So I definitely like you trying to be efficient. And there are 3 tiles that give a meeple back to you, and they are there are 3 tiles with which you can give a meeple back to yourself, and 3 tiles with which your opponent gives a meeple back to you. And so you only have 3 tiles in the deck that do not have a productive use. Yeah, exactly. The extender was fine. And referring to this city, well, I agree with you, KK Spam, that was kind of risky, but for blue it totally paid off. Yeah, we see now you can't benefit from this tile, but you do benefit from your opponent not having it. Wait, I don't get it. Wait, let me think about this. So your opponent has 15 points over here, and you have 6 points over here. So your opponent is net +9. If your opponent does find a curve to go over here, then your opponent is net +12. So they do have an incentive to take a curve over here. But they also have an incentive to use a crossroads here. So maybe you're better off actually going over here and making sure that nobody can meeple this big road ever. Or, of course, I think a stronger move is actually to go over here and simply eliminate a field connection. Or at least make it much more blockable. Or, yeah. Because you are just setting up a juicy move for your opponent. But maybe you've calculated something, I'm not sure. Let's actually, because we're in the endgame now, I think we should, yes, Wise Maze is saying defend the field. I have to agree, I think defending the field is much stronger to put this at the bottom. But let's actually see. I think we haven't discussed what your win condition is. Somehow it happened that your opponent completed all their cities and they're 22 points ahead on the scoreboard. So how are we doing? They are 24 because of this. They have extra 9 from here, so they are 33. And they have 1 point over here, so that's 34. We have 7 and 7, that's 14. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18, so that's 32. Then 7 more over here, 32. That's 39, 40, 46, 48. So we are up 14 points, but we're down 2 meeples. How our opponent could win? Well, they could take 8 points over here. But then if they take 8 points over here, we can take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 points for this move. And so we would be up like 17 or so. So maybe we can even survive our opponent connecting to the field. But I think the one thing that we cannot survive is our opponent taking the road and connecting to the field. So I think we're probably better off either eliminating this road or really just eliminating this field connection. Yeah, so they do. So now they took 8 points, which means that we're no longer at +14. I think we should be at +6 now. But our opponent has a boatload of points. And I think actually now we have a simple win by simply taking these 4 points, 6 points. And with that, we can probably survive a field invasion if we get to complete our city. So let's see what you do. Yeah, you do take the points. Because now if you follow through with this, there's no point in defending the field. Your opponent does this, which is pretty neat idea. Trying to take away your city. You now... Well, I guess now you have to defend the field, right? Like, go over here. Take 2 points. Because I think the question is still, can we outrun our opponent? What if we just take 3 points over here and allow our opponent to connect to the field? Will that be enough for a win? We're going to take some time. I am going to do the counting again. This is not... Quick tile counting would be my strong side, but quick point counting is really not. I have to work on that. So you see, I will be also learning through these streams. Again, I should have kept track, but whatever. We're minus 26. This ruin, let's count it shared. We're still down 9 points over here. So we're down not 26, but 35. 37 because of this guy. We have 15 points for the monasteries. So we're down 22. Now there's the interesting situation. Of course, because of the field, we're down only 4. And because of the city, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are up 5 points if our opponent connects to the big ruin. That's a big if. We get 11 points. Actually, we get 14 points because we drop a farmer if we finish the city. And so we will be up 18. The question is, can our opponent connect both to the field and the farm? Honestly, I think maybe just taking 3 points and outrunning should be enough. And you win either if your opponent connects to the field and you finish the city, or if your opponent doesn't connect to the field and you don't finish the city. Yeah, maybe it's something like that. So, but the question is, does that 1 point actually make a difference? Because the thing with these field connections, your opponent can still go over here and connect through a curve. Moreover, this will be completely unblockable. Yeah! Check this out. Actually, blocking this makes no sense. Just given the tile run out. I mean, obviously, it's very hard to see in the game, but after you place this tile, your opponent's only sequence for connecting will be crossroads plus curve. But it doesn't matter if they put the crossroads plus curve over here, or if they put the crossroads plus curve over here like this and connect through the bottom. So we might as well just take the 3 points. Yeah, exactly. Helic is saying, why not take 2 points instead of 3 points and secure the farm? Because it doesn't secure the farm. That's the problem. Wait, a big if, 4 out of 7. What's your... Oh, the field's gonna... Oh, yeah, I was saying if that ruin is shared. Well, it's not a big if, but the situation I was trying to imagine if your opponent might choose to use the tile for something else. That's why it's a big if. So imagine if tiles come out and then both crossroads come out. Well, then your opponent might decide, if you draw this sort of tile, that his win condition, if he doesn't have enough time to connect to the ruin, he has to use this tile to go over here and connect to the farm, like this. So that's why I'm saying it's a big if, because very often when you count about like which tiles do you need to do something, the thing that you sometimes forget is that you might need these tiles for other purposes. Okay, I will be making the stream longer than planned because right now, after this, I will show you a game I recently played against a strong Japanese player, a casual game, where the exact thing happens. It's super, super instructive. So basically, okay, this was such a fun situation. I had a position where I had like 4 outs to do the thing that I wanted to do. And I drew all 4 of these outs, but I never got to do the thing that I wanted to do because I had to use stuff for something else. Well, anyway, what do? Oh, you go for the greed. I'm very curious to hear. Did you actually calculate all this stuff? Or did you just say, 4 points, why not? Okay, so here, Jack attacks should connect to the field. Again, either this side or this side, that should work. So are they actually going to do it? Well, yeah, so they do it now. when it's a tad too late. Then you do your thing, and of course you draw. Oh, wait. I think it's enough. No, I think we can farm there, actually. Yeah, I think we should be farming there. Because, like, where else are you going to use your last meeple? Okay, if you draw a curve, you still win, but you still have a quick point tile. And it's not like you're going to score more than 3 points with any other possible tile. Like, if you draw this or this, well, none of that gives you more than 3 points. So Jack attacks does connect to the city. And okay, now you... Oh, okay, you get to score 4 points. But of course it does not matter because you drew the curve anyway, and so your opponent would not be winning in any case. Your opponent scores 3 points, and you now get a 3-point field. So I think you actually should drop a farmer here, because these... I forgot what the point count was, but I think it was actually important to be efficient. If your opponent draws the curve to connect, then you can score 2 quick points plus 3 city points at the very end. Or you can even have a city connection over here. Very, very interesting endgame. And I have to say, you played this game amazingly well. So what? From the mistakes, I think the self-block was a bit extra. But all the other things, like the city build-up, this blocking sequence over here, what else? Yeah, especially this city build-up. It was like a really high-level thing to pull off. The greedy ruin over here. So you win plus 20. Which may seem rough, but actually the game was much, much closer than it seems. Because if your opponent gets a curve, then your opponent has 15 more points. Or if your opponent gets to use his meeples a little bit earlier, then you win with only like plus 5 or something. Well, I don't know how about it for you, but it was entertaining for me for sure. Oh, hey, Edward is in the chat. I'm just curious to hear, so like, when you were taking 3 points for the road, to what level you had this stuff calculated out? Because taking the 3 points was actually the best move, but the reason why it was the best move is, I think, really hard to see. All right, yeah, so this game is, I think, from October. Well, anyway... But yeah, really, really... Crafty saying the monastery build-up. Okay, we're not going to talk about the monasteries anymore. Okay, before we move on to the next game, I just have to show you this. It's too... I can't pass up on this. Wait. Let's just go to my profile. Okay, games. Okay, too much Azul. Yeah, so I don't know who this player is. The Japanese player with screen of Nagon 16. Wait, was this one? Yes, I think it was this one. Okay, so I will try not to show you the entire game. I will just like click through the moves relatively quickly. But maybe I should like make a separate video about this, but I can't make a video about everything. I had like so many interesting games recently, and I have still my World Championship recap in progress, and before the end of the year, I want to publish at least 3 other game analyses videos. So we're going to... That's a nice move by my opponent. Just go through this. If you do have any questions about any particular moves, do let me know, but there's a specific situation that I wanted to show you. Okay, now I decided to make a greedy move, which... Let's not talk about that. It's an okay move to play. Then I went for further greed, preparing a monastery spot. Then our opponent, of course, correctly disrupting my road, and then I get a meeple back with the intent to attack the city a little bit later. Our opponent continues his city, and now it's super threatening, especially because something like this can happen. His road just 2 Doritos away, but I can't do anything about this, so I just go for compensation. If anything, my position is great. I'm pre-building a long road. If my opponent gets a city, I get like a boatload of monastery points. So there's the thing, like, I have no reason to be worried about. Our opponent does this, trying to finish the city sooner, which makes sense. And I draw a fantastic tile. Not only did it initiate a city connection, it also, more importantly, disrupts my opponent's road. Opponent continues the road, I complete the city connection, and now even if my opponent were to draw the splitter, I have absolutely sufficient compensation in form of these 6 points. So my opponent tries to eat up my city completely, and I can't do anything about this. All I can do is just keep stacking on monasteries, because if my opponent is going to do something and eat up this big city, well, I might as well get some compensation. My opponent, honestly, not the worst move would be to just go over here and start a blocking attack. It's very weird, but the delay, even the delay, it's quite useful. And also, I kind of already need a crossroads tile over here. It would force me to need the same tile in multiple places, so this is not a bad idea. Instead, my opponent starts a different block. Of course, another option is just to simply start a road yourself or continue this road. But anyway, our opponent starts a block of a different type, pressuring 2 squares, pressuring this, which is completely legit. Well, now I decide, well, since I got a tile that can eliminate the threats of my opponent snatching a big city, then why not do that? In all fairness, it does not eliminate the threat completely. There's still the sequence of city cap, Dorito, triple city to eat this whole up, but it is now much, much less likely. Okay, yeah, our opponent goes here. Well, yeah, this is actually a move I disagree with profoundly. You gotta decide, either you start a road or you block. Our opponent chose to start a block. Well, then if you start a block, you follow up with it. You go over here, you go over here, you start doing something. Then these 2 moves in combination, they kind of really don't make much sense, if you ask me. Yeah, so just by themselves, they really don't accomplish all that much. So either you go for point scoring and compensation, or you go for blocking. And I think our opponent tried a little bit of both, and this enabled me to benefit from it. Now I also equalize the city, and things are going well. Our opponent is preparing to maybe put a Dorito tile and get a block and eat this whole thing up. But I have no time to deal with this because I need to get rid of my vulnerabilities. My monastery is vulnerable and stuff. Of course, I drop a farmer with tempo. Yes, my opponent does take 4 points for the city, but he also helps me build up my monasteries. And technically, it's a negative point move for him because he takes 4 points, gives me 2 points and 3 points for the farm. So actually, it's a -1 move for my opponent just to clean off a city cap. I think I can leave with this. And here, try to guess what I played. Try to guess what I played. Some of you are not going to like this move. And also, do let me know what you would have played here instead. Because the thing is, there's really not a lot of use for this tile. I can say what I didn't play. I could go over here and defend the square to 75%, but I don't want to do that because I need the same type of crossroads over here. So I'd rather just my opponent take some sort of city tile and block this to a 50-50 so that at least I have 3 tiles to draw from to get my meeples back. And the thing is, because these 3 monasteries score so much, and I still have this farmer, I don't really need to get all my meeples back in order to try to win this game. Because these monastery meeples, I do get them back eventually. But there I saw something. I saw an interesting idea how I could, well, use my tiles productively. And another move that I was considering was going over here Okay, I wasn't actually considering that. I didn't even think about this, but it's too weak. It's sacrificing a valuable tile. And the purpose of this move is just simply trying to reduce the chance of my opponent blocking this square. And maybe in some cases I get to like block this square and draw a splitter and have a second field. So all these are considerations that I had. Yes, of course. Attack the left city for the CCCF. So Sunny is asking, can I use a straight line instead of a crossroads to try and connect to my opponent's road? I can, but then my opponent draws a curve and then we're back to square one. So for example, if I were to get a straight line on my very next move, I mean, of course I would put it over here and like meeple this juicy road. So yes, I do spend my last meeple, but in this case, it's kind of justified because there's still a lot of tiles that go here, and I get to productively use what otherwise have been useless tiles. So like Doritos, triple cities all go over here. And now at least I've created threats in different part of the board because my opponent cannot at the same time equalize the city, connect to this ruin, equalize the city, block this monasteries, block this road, block this, block that. And also I am quite likely to get a meeple back soon because there are still 3 monasteries, there are 6 curves, like a lot can go into that square. I still have these options. So if anything, there isn't a single unproductive tile in the deck. My opponent wisely starts a new monastery in the best possible spot to control my ruin. And of course, it's a bit unproductive that I get to use a city cap for my ruin, but actually it is kind of productive. It eliminates sort of a field connection platform. It brings my ruin closer to completion. And look at this, Dorito, I'm about to finish this up. But my opponent goes here, and this changes my plans, because now I can't finish it with the Doritos. Now I think our plan is to just grow ruin that outgrows the monastery. So I go over there. Then the next move. Okay, actually try guess the next move as well. There are a couple of legit options. Well, 2 options. But one is much better than the other. So there are only 2 moves that do something productive for me in this situation. $22. Aha, so this is one of these 2 productive moves, indeed. So the point is, it's actually several points. One is I'm pre-building a road, and chances are I could get a meeple back before I'm meepling this road. Also, if I get a straight line before I get a meeple back, I get to go over here, and then I don't get to leave a dangling 6-point road. I don't get it, but at least my opponent doesn't get it. And finally, this eliminates the use of a city cap, which my opponent could use to score 4 points. Whereas if I get this city cap, I kind of need it over here. So it will make sure that my opponent doesn't have a good use for a starting tile. It also keeps my field nice and compact, because I really don't want to be growing this field too much with a meeple disadvantage. 9 points is perfectly fine. But this was not the move I played. Who has other ideas? Oh yeah, well, Glovier and I today are on the same page. Adding to the ruin, yes. With road to the left, Wise Maze, Vika, nicely done. Exactly. Pre-building the road of monastery. And you see, it's kind of, now it's a bit annoying. And also in some scenarios, I get to even complete this city, so it's still like very flexible, but Nagon now cannot go over here because then he has too many meeples blocked. And he cannot go over here either, because then I get a city cap and I secure this city and just complete it fully. So Nagon very wisely completes a block. Now I get the first tile, which I can't use productively. I just eliminate a city cap. Then my opponent gets this. So at least the elimination of a city cap works. Now I can't really do all that much. So I wanted to pre-finish a road over here. Oh yeah, so you already saw my move. There were some considerations. Actually, I'll tell you why I played this move in a second. This one I think is really, really tricky. But the reason why I didn't go over here is because it does not limit my field enough. And it's also, even though it pre-builds this road, it actually saves this city cap, which I don't want to do. If my opponent draws the city cap, there'll be additional benefit for him scoring 4 points and then having a counter field over here. The purpose was this. It was actually to prepare a blocking platform should my opponent choose to connect to the city. If he gets something like a Dorito tile and puts it over here, then I immediately can stick a curve over here, make it so that there's only one tile remaining that fits into both of these squares. So just simply taking advantage of the fact that 4 out of 5 Doritos with a road have been out, and all 3 of the triple cities with the road are out. So, oh, hi, Elias. Yes, so Nagon continues his road, but now we are in that territory where it's very likely that our meeple gets... that our 2 meeples get blocked together with our opponent's 3 meeples. So we're perfectly happy with that. I continue my road. Part of that is also to give myself more outs. I know I'm making this square a little bit vulnerable, but if you can see 15 tiles, I think I can survive this. I'd rather give myself more outs for finishing this road and maybe putting pressure on this guy. And maybe in some scenarios, he can put a straight line over here, and then I get to connect to this road. But anyway, for now, he just keeps scoring and scoring and scoring. Here, I decided it's time to get a meeple back, even though I was considering other moves. Our opponent keeps scoring and scoring and scoring, and now I decided that I need meeples, so I made a move which normally I wouldn't make. I went over here and I left the city cap facing into my opponent's city. So of course my opponent could still get that city cap and score 4 points, but if he does so, it will happen after a long time, and maybe I'll have a chance to block it fully. I just need the meeples right now, and I can't turn the city cap into my own field without placing a meeple on the road. And I figured that I need meeples too much because there's this field, there's still unused monasteries that I can use. So Nagon starts a field. In a way, yeah, I understand this, but it actually is a bit problematic, because if somebody draws a city cap and takes these 4 points, this meeple here becomes vulnerable. He still has to start a field somehow. Now I go over here simply to make sure that my opponent cannot get a meeple back and that he cannot attack my ruin. So I'm perfectly happy with the considerations here. Anyway, but we're a bit digressing, because at the very end of the game, you will see the main point that I was trying to address. It's the fact that there are 3 outs for this city, so it's very likely that I'm going to get them, but you're going to see what's going to happen later. Our opponent starts a new city. Here, again, many moves that I could do. So I could go over here, making sure that I block my opponent's meeple. And so it would still allow them to draw this city cap, but then at least their road would be completely dead. But then I figured, for a variety of reasons, that I need points. I wasn't even ahead at that point. Like, the game was super even. But unfortunately, they managed to secure their road. So I decided to go over here, preparing a field attack. I think I maybe should have dropped a farmer there straight away, because there are like 3 tiles over here still. Yeah, maybe that actually was maybe a good idea to already drop a farmer. And of course, the goal was to prevent my opponent from trying to finish this road. Then I decided to go over here, take 2 points, secure my ruin away from attack. My opponent successfully completed his city. I decided to continue my field in a rather reckless way, but don't ask me why. I still think it's an okay move. Because my opponent, it of course makes my field more vulnerable, but my opponent can only do so much in terms of field connection, and I just need to like build stuff. Oh yeah, and the reason why I stopped preparing a monastery spot, because my initial plan was to draw a straight line and then another monastery, finish a monastery with another monastery, you know, like in the good old days. But because there's a juicy monastery spot over here, I need to forego this plan now. Nagon is very close to completing the city, and here, this all starts happening, right? So I draw the tile which would beautifully fit over here, but this is what happens in those situations, and this is why in the previous game I said big if. Of course, I cannot go over here. I need to prevent the threat of my opponent completing the city. And here, actually, I think I make a mistake. I went over here and decided not to meeple this. Decided that I'm going to need meeples for other stuff. Decided maybe I can, I don't know, draw something over here, block this connection, and meeple the field on the next move. And maybe it's like not such a terrible idea what I did. But maybe it was probably safer to play this move with a meeple. Again, not sure. But if I play this with a meeple, then my opponent draws a crossroads, and then I'm sort of stuck in a losing mini battle over here. So it's a lose-lose no matter what. You see, so what my opponent did brilliantly here is create the threat, and I'm forced to make concessions. And, well, I chose a concession. Ooh, Elias, brilliant. Yes, Wise Maze is ahead of me in terms of the tile. Yeah, so Elias was suggesting on the previous move, a few moves before, placing this curve like this. Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice. And that would have blocked the road completely without adding a point to it. Yeah, beautiful. I just didn't see that option. Well, anyway. Yeah, now Gohan just takes quick points. I get to have a meeple back. So now I can do all the good stuff, attack the fields, and uh-oh, my opponent starts to draw Doritos, only 2 city caps away from completion. So now I need to drop a farmer, and then do later about this ruin, and now, uh-oh, our opponent is about to complete the city, and that will be really inconvenient for me. Luckily, I do draw some compensation. I draw this tile, I get to meeple this monastery, and now I get to connect to the top field, and it doesn't really matter who draws this tile, because if my opponent draws this tile, well, okay, it will be, of course, like a 7-point move for them, but we both get a meeple back because of that. And now Gon is dropping a farmer, and again, look at what I have now. I want to go over here, because it gives me points, and win this ruin, but I cannot, because this threat is more severe, so I have to go over here. And lo and behold, no, not yet. My opponent is just trying to like still keep connecting. Then I figured that I sort of started calculating whether my opponent can finish the city, and then I decided that either he cannot finish a city, or I can impede his city later. So I take 4 quick points, and my opponent is forced to use the quadruple city tile to block himself, which is of course always very pleasant. Yes, and after this move, of course, there were some scenarios how my opponent gets complete the city, but in most cases I would be able to get a block. The only scenario how I don't get a block is if my opponent gets this, places it over here, and then on my next move, I draw this exact tile. Like, this is the only way how my opponent completes the city. And then on the very next move, my opponent draws this. So it's like a very, very specific sequence. So it's like 1 in 5 times 1 in 4 times 1 in 3, which is... Wait, that's 1 in 60. Yeah, I mean, I can accept a 1 in 60 chance of losing. So I decided that these 4 points were more important. Oh, another beautiful idea. I could have gone over here. Oh, no, it wouldn't have worked. The forced quadruple city would not have worked, because then my opponent would just clean off the city cap and I would be stranded with 1 point meeple and I would be lost. Yeah, so my opponent continues his city, and I sort of, at this point, I calculated that I win in all possible runouts. So I didn't, like, I could have won with 1 more point. I think the best move for me was just, like, to meeple a road, and I just dumped this. I know, I could have, like, gone for something like this. Actually, maybe the most precise endgame for me, and the flashiest one, and I thought about doing this in the game, actually, is going over here and dropping a farmer, saying that if my opponent draws a curve, something like this, then I'm going to either draw this, which takes away the field, or I'm going to draw this, which gives me 3 points. Sort of that was my reasoning there, but actually, yeah, that was probably like the most precise way of thinking. I should have meepled the farm there. Yeah, I get 4 points. Luckily, it didn't matter because the game was already sealed, but I could have won with like a couple more points difference. But yeah, but the main reason why I show you this game is by creating these extra threats, my opponent forced me into using the tile that I really needed for one spot to use it elsewhere. First of all, this one, and then this one, and the final one was actually drawn by my opponent. So even though I did drew most of these outs, I ended up never putting them where I needed. Well, granted, it's not like it's a super big move anyway, because what it takes 2 points for the shield, 1 point for this tile, and 1 point for taking away a tile from my opponent. But it's a 4-point tile, and I was forced to spend and to add 2 extra cities to my opponent. So just to eliminate this threat, I was to sacrifice 6 points essentially. So hopefully it was somewhat instructive about threats and about how the tile that you want somewhere might end up not there even if you get it. I know, twice, not 4 times. Well, my memory was not perfect, and obviously I may have said something for a dramatic effect. Wait. Elias is saying it's a bit more than a 1 in 60 chance. Is it, though? Because it shouldn't matter for probabilities whether I draw the tile immediately or whether I draw it after discarding. I think. Oh, you're saying I tend to say say things for dramatic effect? Why would I? Why would I do that? Well, anyway, that was a digression, and we're 1.5 hours into our stream. The next game was sent to us. No, that's the final one. That's the most entertaining one. This one we're keeping for the end. Anyway, the next game was sent to us by Pavel Breen, and this one's also going to be against a strong opponent. Also, you're like 600 rated now. That's pretty cool, and you're even rated higher then the more experienced player from the RCP team with the screen name Surge T. This game was from the turn-based tournament for World Team Carcassonne Online Championship players, organized by the French player with the screen name Blitz, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or by another French player. Maybe it was La Hache. Anyway, by a French player. Anyway, so it's from a tournament. It's turn-based, which means that we had time to think. We will be sweating it out with Pavel Breen, who will be playing the Black Meeples in the second position. Right after I grab some hot water, and right after you place a meeple on the like button, unless you already have done so. Yes, La Hache organized it. Okay, thank you. Okay, yes, the probability changes because the denominator changes. Got you, Elias. So I'm gonna get some water. If you could just do all the math for me, please, and give me the final percentage, I will be very happy. Oh, hi, Pavlo. Good to see that you're actually here. Anyway, I'll be right back. Alrighty, so 1/40, so 2.5% chance of loss for me, right? Okay, so we're gonna leave it at that. So we start a city, which makes sense. Surge T continues it. Here, already pretty interesting. I actually kind of like me pulling this road. Does not care how risky it is, because it's a shared road. Yeah, but I can see why I didn't want to do this. You went over here, trying to block it, but it's the start of a game. It's not really going to. It's not really going to be blocked. And also, again, now you have a tile which you don't have a good use for, so you start a new road, which makes perfect sense. Your opponent starts a city, you go over here. So far, natural moves. By the way, I do agree. It may look weird, but it's actually a good idea to start two cities like this, even if these are awkward Doritos, because you can finish one of these cities with Doritos and the other one with city caps, And also, we're taking advantage of the road tile plus the city tile, so we're getting to use our tiles efficiently. Not we, but our opponent. Okay, so they go over there. What do? We... Very nice placement of the road, because we're preparing a 6-point loop like this. Very good orientation for the crossroads. Now comes a move from our opponents, which is, to me, completely inexplicable. So they did this. This move, I have to say, is rather horrible. And I'm really surprised that like a strong opponent like this did this, because I know that the captain of Vladimir, the captain of RCP is Vladimir, and if he saw that game, maybe he did see that game, because maybe I assume he would like see the game of his teammates, he would have a word to say about this. So not only it is we're spending a tile on 0 points, but we're also foregoing an opportunity as red to have like the juiciest monastery spot. This one, we get another one, we stack them together, we build a road next to our monastery. It's beautiful. So I understand this was an awkward placement, but I don't know. Maybe that was a misclick or something. So yeah, you do finish the city. I kind of even like a road. I actually like a road meeple there, because like, eventually you will need to do something about this road. Why not do this now? And also, I know you have multiple roads open, but you still have a boatload of meeples, and you have different plans for these roads. For example, if your opponent splits, well, that's fine. You're going to have this piece to yourself, and then you can, maybe on the next move, you can continue your road and start a new city and put some pressure on this square. Or you can finish this road with a crossroads, and this road you're going to finish with a 6-point loop. So you're still going to have 2 different roads. So here's the thing about having multiple features open. You don't want too many of the same kind of feature open. But it's not about having 2 roads open, or 2 cities open, or 3 roads open. It's about which tiles you need to complete them. And for example, if you have 2 roads open, one has a crossroads like this, facing upwards, and you have like straight lines, and the other road is like a loop. So then it's perfect to have these 2 roads, because this means that you have 2 open features, and you have uses for straight lines, which go over here, and for loops, and for curves, which go over here. And also, yeah, so I think it was okay to meeple that road. Also, not a big problem not to meeple this. So you see, now Surge T does meeple this monastery, obviously, but this position is not that great. Because imagine if he had this meeple over here, he would have put it like this. And then he would have put it over here, pre-building a road, having them stacked on top. And now this allows you to play a move, which I have to say I quite like. Obviously, if you just have a look at where Pavel is from, you might guess which move is coming. And the move that you played is this, with a meeple. So I do like this quite a bit. Now, there are some upsides and downsides to this move. So this is different from the normal Ukrainian technique where you do this against 2 monasteries. The idea here is sort of the same, that you do this against 2 of your opponent's meeple, is against a roads and against a monastery. But what happens here is that we're simply no, how do I say this again? So first of all, let me list the upsides of the move. Well, the upside is we're preventing the disaster scenario, and that's the main upside. We're eliminating a monastery spot. We're really making the build-up very hard, and our opponent really can't take another monastery, because then we block 3 meeples against 1. The elimination of this road is really not that big of a deal, because this road is open on the other side, and red can just continue going and going and going and going forward. And if anything, red is completely happy with all the situation being blocked. Just go over here, block this, and you're going to start with 1 point meeple versus like 17 points from your opponent, which may seem that this is not a very good, this is not a very good, how do you say, anti-investment of a meeple. No, that you're allowing your opponent to make a good investment for a meeple. And this is true, but with your move, you're preventing a disaster scenario, which is why I like it. So now your opponent at least cannot run away with the game by drawing another monastery. That's why I think it's so strong. And obviously you can't do this without the meeple, because then your opponent draws a city cap and runs away with the game like this. Yeah, very interesting idea. Now, of course, the perfect tile to do this with would have been this tile. If you manage to grow your city from here, this would be kind of the real tile that allows you flexibility. But essentially, you're now sort of burning a meeple to prevent a disaster scenario. You're up ahead 10 points on the scoreboard. So I think overall, even though this is not the perfect tile for doing this, and we're burning a meeple for 1 point, this move has definitely more upsides than downsides. So it's a really nice find from you, and quite an unusual pattern to have the two mini battles in not adjacent squares. That's really interesting, so that the two critical squares are not even next to each other. I see this pattern very rarely. Yeah, Sarge continues the city, you finish the roads, which makes sense. Again, Sergei drew a monastery, he can't use it, so your move absolutely totally worked. And honestly, I think you will see later in the game how crucial this mistake was. In the different configuration, well, actually, you could have also Ukrained his monasteries, but this would have been not as damaging as before. Yeah, Red's just takes a monastery for 1 point. It's so low. You attack this. Red takes quick points. You take another monastery yourself. Red continues over here. You probably should start attacking this city. Maybe from above is a bit better than from the side. Yeah, from above is a bit better. Why is from above a bit better? Because you have a couple more tiles to connect, it seems, and also here's the thing. So if you go from here, you're trying to connect. If you go from above, you can also block as well, and you also have more connection options because you have these two guys available for you, whereas now it's only Doritos and Triple Cities. Whereas if you go for above, it's Doritos, Triple Cities, and Extender. So you're leaving yourself a couple more tiles. One thing is also you're prolonging this road indirectly because your opponent could do like this, and this maybe adds your opponent a point. It's a very subtle moment. I think your move is fine. I would have gone one level higher. Yeah, and Sergei actually quite wisely, I think, blocks your meeple, so he will be able to grow his monastery pretty much indefinitely, and then he'll be able to maybe even finish his road, but he doesn't even have to. He can just continue it indefinitely, and it will be a good investment of a meeple. But your move works because of the slight scoreboard lead. So the total advantage will not be like 16 points for one meeple. It will be 16 minus 12, 2 points for a meeple, which of course is not enough for Reds. Yeah, you do get the block. Oh, actually, yeah, and you see, so you would have done the same thing, except that you would have made his life more difficult. Because now there are 4 tiles that fit here, and if you were to do this, there would have been 3 tiles that fit here, and also he wouldn't be able to use Doritos anymore, because as soon as he uses a Dorito, you finish the block over here. But again, very, very, very subtle moment. Yeah, Sergei finds a good move. starts a new road. We finish a city. Wow, this is something. I think it's a bit of an overkill with so many road tiles remaining, with like 12 basic road tiles. It's just asking for it. I think it has to be a mistake here by Sergey. Sergey's better off either finishing his loop or starting a new city, or just doing something else. And I think he's better off waiting for a Dorito and trying to finish this city like this, because there's still 3 of these guys remaining. But now he's saying he's now hoping not for 3 tiles like this, he's hoping for the 1 tile like this, and he's hoping for this city not to get blocked immediately, which it probably will. And if you would just be a bit more patient, wait for regular Dorito, he can go over here, and now it is harder for you to block. And if you do block with something like this, well, then at least he has a ruin that he can grow. Of course, the situation is pretty hard for him because he's down 20 points. But it's not all that dire. Like, if he finishes the city, he's right back in the game. Okay, Craft Giraffe saying, isn't Black Monastery better next to Black City Tile and Road End? Where was that? Where was that? This monastery. You mean here? It's a big point sacrifice. I kind of don't remember where exactly that was. At which point in the game. Yeah, I think this city was still open. It does seem to me like just too big of a point sacrifice. And the thing with, no, I like this placement because of the 7 curves. So we build this up really, really easy. Either curve, 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 or curve, straight line monastery, or something like curve, curve monastery. One of the possible options. Or even monastery, curve, straight line. So this monastery should be finished really, really quickly. Ah, there. Before this meeple was here, right? Yeah, this was also right. But I think this is just like a bit stronger. Yeah, because it also like immediately has a monastery spot nearby. And an opportunity for build-up of roads. Well, anyway, you don't get a blocking tile, and Sergey gets a defense tile. And you see, now instead of getting a meeple back, he's forced to do a defense of his city and anticipation for... Oh, no, you block first. That's fine. Again, that was all the price for this. Yeah, now Sergey's trying to save his road, but he's spending like a lot of tiles on saving stuff. And I think he may be saving the... No, I think it's alright. So he's saving this meeple, but not this one. Maybe he's just better off continuing this road. I'm not sure exactly. But anyway, now you complete the block. So again, this meeple trapped. You could say that this is unfortunate, but this is all as a result of Red doing these shenanigans with the city. And Sergey blocks you. You continue your city, which I think makes sense. He starts blocking you more, which also makes sense on his part. Then you can either continue a monastery, or you can already start, because you're in the lead. Like, the way you win this game is you get compensation for your opponent's city. You anticipate... I don't know, you can meeple the road, you can drop a farmer, you can drop a second farmer, like you can do so many things. Let's see what you do. You continue the monastery, which is perfectly fine. I rather like it. Again, look at, yeah, Sergey can't do much with it. You can probably take 2 quick points. You start a new city, I think that's a bit excessive. I like taking 2 quick points. Or maybe, yeah, simply because it's 2 immediate points, whereas when you meeple the city cap, it's 2 maybe points. But your move is also quite alright. Sergei does this, and you probably don't even need to bother with this monastery, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a bit excessive. I would just let my meeple be trapped. Actually, no, I think it's quite alright, because like your opponent is forced to do quite some chasing around. But you know what? Given that you are ahead, we should prevent the disaster scenario. With a curve, your opponent goes here, blocks you. There's only one tile, one kind of dagger that goes here. With a Dorito, your opponent goes here and also blocks you. And there's only one tile that goes here. No, I think your move was alright. I think your move was alright simply because you have many threats in different parts of the board. So I think you're gonna do just fine. Actually rather like your move, but I would probably just like continue one of my cities. Okay, Pavel gets a meeple back. You have now 4 cities, but that's okay. You can build up them. Interesting choice. I would not have done that one. So first of all, if you are going to place this tile over here, place it here instead. Because what your opponent's going to do is going to draw a curve. And with this curve, create an attacking platform against this square. So you want this square to already be defended, and you want to go like this. And then, no, actually, this I rather like, just over here. Then also interesting choice, you can go here, you can go here, you can go here, you could probably need this tile pretty much anywhere. This move, kind of inexplicable to me as well. Your opponent is so behind, he should meeple stuff like this, if you ask me. So the sequencing ended up not mattering, but I do think still it's more precise to put this tile first and this tile second. Sergei tries attacking, and you can just continue cities in the meantime. Ooh, okay. So yes, Pavel's saying is that your idea though with Cirque in this case must fight against 2 cities. No, that was true. I do like taking the city in general. I do sometimes tend to be a bit too careless about my meeples, so maybe it was a good idea to actually start a new city and save the monastery. Wait, so Otto is saying taking a 9-point field with the RRRC is not urgent. Yeah, I agree. It's better to do it with a different tile. This one... Oh yeah, I mean, what else do you have to do? That certainly makes sense. And since there is an attacking platform already, it's not like you can avoid it that much. I'm just thinking, maybe there's merit to turning it the other way, so that your opponent can't connect but can only block. I kind of start liking this idea by a lot. Yeah, so you just turn it the other way. I don't know. I really like it. And just wait for a city cap with a road, like this or this. But anyway, your move makes perfect sense too. Yeah, Sergei now attacks, which of course is not great for us, but it's fine. With attacking, he's taking care of 1 threat. There's still multiple other threats available. So let's see what you do. Yeah, you finish your monastery, of course. Then you finish your city. Sergey does complete the connection, but it's not a big tragedy. Now, of course, both sides have a boatload of meeples. You have a lot of points on the scoreboard. There's, of course, there's still one big threat if your opponent going over here and meepling a farm. So we should take care of that soon. But... oh, you decided to take it right now. So if you're going to do this right now, honestly, with your lead, yeah, probably a good move. One square to the left. Ah, no, but I see your point, right? Because you're now giving away the roads for your opponent here. But if you do it one square for the left, you're giving away another road. Yeah, no, I probably like your move, actually. And then you can hope for a curve and meeple this road yourself. Yeah, this field is actually pretty urgent, so I do tend to agree. As Sergey, I think it's a missed opportunity. He had to go over here and start the city himself. City cab, bam, bam, it actually gets completed really, really quickly. Especially if this city cabs come first, complete with a meeple on the field. So I think it may have been a missed opportunity. You prepare to finish a city, and you see all the opponent can do is just eliminate threats. Now you draw... now you create another threat. And actually this square is pretty secure. It's even impossible to block it completely. Well, it's like extremely difficult to block it completely. That's so nice. So Sergey now, of course, should be dropping some sort of farmer. Ah, no. This is... well, this also makes sense. Sort of completing the block. But there was no real threat of this city completing. Because what red could do still, I think, to win this game, well, one thing was trying to build a city like this, because it's like 12 points and a meeple back, and then a farmer, that's 18 points. Another move that he should do is go over here, drop a farmer, go here, drop a farmer, and make sure that he has a majority on this 12-point field. But of course, with you being on the field first, you made this task so much harder for him. Oh, wait. So were you suggesting to... ah, that's interesting. So you were suggesting to go over here and put a farmer yourself. Maybe this actually wins us the game. Well, red still conceivably could draw roads, draw two roads and this, and connect our two farmers. But then we'd still have these 12 points. We'd be controlling them with two meeples. You know what? I still like the move. Like, we're threatening a 10-point city. A 10-point city beats a 9-point field. No, I mean, I wouldn't mind this suggestion. I just generally, like, I'm not a fan of putting pieces in place where your opponents want them to put. On the other hand, at this point, meeples don't matter. So the fact that you're giving your opponent a road end does not matter. Like, the more I think about it, the more I actually like your suggestion. So definitely meepling another farm here is a completely legit move. And we're also maybe preparing to block this square to make sure that these two farms stay separate. This is just something downright sinister. Yeah, very nice suggestion, Raf. Very nice suggestion. Yeah, you just keep meepling fields. Yeah, now red is able to meeple your field. You get your city and you meeple the fields. Now Sergey should meeple the field, absolutely, always. Because he's hoping for a curve, so he'd be connecting to your 6-point field. And because he's also hoping for this tile over here, he needs to spend a meeple on every move. So I think this was a missed opportunity for him to score 6 points. You just decided, hey, why not score roads and stuff? That's okay. But maybe you're even better off Like, just dropping another farmer over? Yeah, you're better off just dropping another farmer here. Because then if your opponent connects here, you now threaten to eat up his farm. Yeah, I think instead of this move, I prefer the farmer. Although I'm not exactly sure if there's a losing runouts of tiles at all for you. But just taking the farm seems more secure. On the other hand, you are very likely to finish that road, and no, I like what you did as well. You see, now you can sort of win in every which way. Well, actually, now that your opponent completed the connection, which, by the way, they should have done with a meeple on the field, now... Yeah, now you see, you would have made life difficult for them. Because with this move that you had, you would have already connected over here and made it, again, so that your opponent, if finishes his city, they give you a 12-point field. So they wouldn't probably do that. Yeah, you see, so now you drop a farmer, so you're kind of just like one move late. It's alright, Sergey gets the city and does give you the fields. Interestingly, I must have calculated that this is worth the point sacrifice. You take 1 point, and they take a couple of points. And as you see, they end up with a meeple surplus, by the way. So that's why they should have done what they should have done. So they should have had a farmer over here on this move. So they just lost 6 points for nothing. Now, what do? You just take... Ah, yeah, of course, you just take 1 point and a meeple back. So, yeah, oh, wait, they need to take this, I don't know. 4 points for a road. So yeah, very interesting game. So obviously very one-sided, and in all honesty, like you kind of got some help from the deck as well by drawing a bunch of city caps at the start and drawing all 3 tiles that go over here. But actually, drawing all these 3 tiles were not that impactful because your opponent ended up really not needing that meeple that much anyway. And overall, I think it was kind of balanced tile distribution. Your opponent did get the coin flip for the city, and they, set it up a bit inefficiently. Instead of this shaped city, it should have been a lipped shaped city with a triple city with roads. As a result of this setup, your opponent, red, also got this meeple blocked unnecessarily. They look at these 2 monasteries completed yet unmeepled. This is a travesty, of course. So I do think that kind of your opponent made a bunch of mistakes, and even though you did get some help from the tiles, it was really like not all that much, and with proper play, this game was quite balanced in terms of tile distribution. Overall, I think you played really well. So some things to think about, like some very, very small tactical things. I don't know, well, here, how to develop your cities and stuff. Maybe think about anticipation a bit earlier, because you're making all the good equity moves that either give you points immediately or are likely to give you points in the future. But given that you're already significantly ahead, maybe you didn't even need to finish all this stuff. Maybe sort of already start thinking a bit more about preventing the disaster scenario. So you did that very well when your opponent finished this shared city, even went for the field straight away. Maybe something that could have been done earlier, or even like more aggressively. Well, anyway, that's the game. Let me just check the chat and see if anybody has any further thoughts about this. Oh, Joseph is saying, thank you again, Pavlo, for winning this game. Did Pavlo winning this game was beneficial for your tournament situation, Joseph? I'm gonna assume. Ah, wait. No, Napalm, you're saying that field was already taken by black. You're probably referring to this farmer over here. I'm saying red should have taken this over here, Meeple the farmer, to make sure that when the curve is drawn, then red enters this field. So basically, by placing a farmer over here, this curve would have been a double field connection. These two farmers merge, and these two farmers merge. So red just simply would have had, for no price at all, 6 extra points on the scoreboard. Oh, Joseph, you actually won the tournaments. Honestly, congratulations. And yeah, well, we had no doubt that you were one of the contenders. But actually, I want to have a look at the standings. So how did it go? The World Team Carcassonne Online Championship individual competition. 160 players. That's something else. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, yes, and Sarge T was second. So, Oh, and actually, Pavel Brin, you came 8th out of 160 players. That's pretty impressive. Marian was 3rd. What was the full tournament situation? Oh, okay, so Siegfried, the sole winner with 16 out of 20 victories, 80% win rate, really impressive. And Pavel, 14 out of 20. So actually, you're essentially tied for 5th, barring the tiebreakers. Yeah, really strong performances, you both. Alrighty. I'm always happy when viewers of my channel do well in tournaments, especially when y'all do like, better than before. Because I see you also cracked 600 now. Last game. Last game is the most entertaining one. So, this one was sent to us by CraftyRef, and I'm just gonna go into it. Actually, you know what? No, I think I can handle this one with the amount of hot beverage that I have. Okay, first move. I remember that in one of your videos, you said that most experts place the monastery like this. And this is true. But most masters play the monastery like this. And the main point is controlling the city cap. It's just too important. And when you go over here, giving away back a 3-point road, it's really not that big of a deal. Because the thing is, like, when you place a monastery like this, once one of you takes the city cap, inevitably, then look at this formation. It's going to be vulnerable from both sides, and it will be hard to put in a second monastery next to it. Imagine this. City cap goes over here. You draw a second monastery. Yay! You put it over here. Then your opponent draws a triangle with a shield and puts it over here with a meeple. And congratulations, your 2 monasteries have now just been Ukrained. So, I mean, of course, there are a lot of things that can do well, but really, like, if you place a monastery over here, the only downside is giving away that road, and that's it. But okay, you take away that road, your opponent goes over here, has 3 points. You put a tile over here, you have 3 points. So it's really not that big of a deal. Okay, so they start a road over here, which is a mistake, but I mean, it's all right, but I do think it's not the most optimal move. The most optimal move is probably just accepting getting controlled by the monastery and snatching off that road end. Oh, no, maybe even actually, yeah. Starting a road over here. By the way, this is an interesting situation. So I wasn't initially sure what to do like this, because in the opening, I've played really a lot of games. I've kind of probably seen every possible combination of the first several tiles. So most of the time I would just know what to do from previous games. But typically, I know what to do against optimal moves. against moves which actually aren't optimal, it really takes time to think through the refutation. And so I think for red, a decent move was actually going here and breaking up this road configuration, making sure that if you take this tile, then there are some vulnerabilities next to your monastery, something like this. But anyway, we're here to review your game, not your opponent's game. They start a new city, you start a city. No, I kind of like it. Continuing your monastery as well. You get a Dorito with an early farmer. Maybe, I think it's all right. Maybe just a little bit too hasty. The thing is, there are some scenarios how neither of these cities get completed. Like with your opponent drawing something like a triple city with a road, and then a big fight for big ruin ensues. And you have a farmer for 6 points, which is all right, but then you have to work through... Sort of, you have to spend tiles on like trying to make this farmer work. What I would probably do is maybe I would drop this farmer after finishing this city. But no, yours is all right too. But it's just something, the farmer there would not be automatic. Okay, but luckily your opponent equalizes. By the way, here comes the first, another problem of this monastery placement. This road placing here, we can't stack monasteries anymore. So we do still make a productive move. We go over here. We control our opponent's city. We're controlling a 3-point road over here. So that's beautiful. But still, now it's going to take us many more tiles to gain 16 points. By the way, just to illustrate you why stacking monasteries is important. If you don't stack monasteries, then if you have 2 monasteries separately, it takes you 9 plus 9, 18 tiles to get 18 points. So in that sense, the monastery is not that different from the road, except that, of course, from a road, except that, of course, you get that boost on the first move because maybe it's like 3-point or 4-point monasteries, and then it's sort of 1 point per tile after that. But if you stack the monasteries, with 2 monasteries over here, man, I should make a separate video about this. I should make a separate video about so many things. I can do only so much. Then you spend, and this is a monastery, and this is a monastery, then you spend 12 tiles on getting 18 points. This is already 1.5 tiles per move, plus the extra boost from the monasteries themselves. And of course, when you add these monasteries, when you place a second monastery, you're adding a point to the previous monastery, so that this is all very nice and efficient. Well, anyway. Oh, look at this! Your opponent drew the exact tile that I was talking about. But at least the disaster scenario is avoided because your opponent has already equalized the field, so you will not need to think about its growth. And here you go for stacking monasteries, which of course is still powerful, but not as powerful as 3 monasteries somewhere over here, just completely running away with this game. Your opponent takes quick points, and so do you. They make a big mistake. They should be... So they should be, I don't know, either taking 2 points over here or 2 points... Yeah, they should just be cleaning away quick points. They can complete this connection later. You can continue your city. Now they connect to your... Oof, this is just unbelievably risky. So this is pretty interesting, actually. They're fighting for the big field, which should make you very happy. Because the field is not big. It has 1 completed city on it, and you're probably going to block the second one. So you should either you should take some quick points, as you do. You do block the city, or at least you add 2 monastery points to yourself. Now they're trying. Oh, they have no care in the world for your big city. And at this point, I think you should call their bluff, and you should go like this. Because now if you do this, you're like 3 tiles away of completing a huge city, and any type of connection that they can make is blockable. I think this is really, really the move over here, but you end up not doing that, and this is a mistake for sure. I see that you want to use a road in as a road 10 and you take 2 points, but why not just take 3 points instead? Like, when in doubt, use the move with the immediate point value. This is 2 points. This is 3 points plus a huge threat. If you ask me if I choose 2 points with no threat and 3 points with a huge threat, I choose 3 points with a huge threat. But there's more to this. This tile is actually perfect for you because you can't really continue the city with a Dorito because a Dorito makes it too vulnerable. You really want a triple city over here, and just as you have drawn the triple city over here, this is just fantastic. So I think this is, yeah, probably like the first mistake. Your opponent starts a road, which I think is a bit extra. I don't know. It's only a 2-point road, and the game seems to have bigger fish to fry. Glovier is saying, when in doubt, points. Yeah. Red decided to take the points for the city, which makes sense. I see, so now you continue with the Dorito, but just imagine how much more powerful of a move this would have been had you had this tile over here. And the thing, what you're going to do, if you have this triple city over here, then you just need 1 road tile to secure this square. Maybe like you give yourself a 75%er. And then 1 Dorito, and that's it. You have like a 15-point ruin, which can turn into a 30-point city with some chance. Your opponent seems unperturbed by your city, so you just keep getting quick points. And honestly, this situation looks just great for you. So why are we even seeing this game? Well, there is a reason. Okay, interesting monastery meeple placement to control yours. I kind of like it. Yeah, there we go. So now they do connect to the city. Well, then what do you do? Well, I guess you get a meeple back. And maybe you fight for the city later, or you're just okay with equalization. I like that you put a meeple there. You still have enough meeples. You don't want to give them a free road end. Now, if they want to YOLO it, they could go over here and like try to win it over with a splitter. Let's see if they do that. No, they... Oh, they do! Oh, they do! Ha 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 ha! Suddenly y'all can see where this is going. I thought they would be taking 7 points over here. I mean, I forgot that they did that. Oh, y'all see where this is going. You can't do anything. Your opponent gets meeple back, and what can you do? You can really just try and block them, and that's it. And they still have a chance of completing this city. They go over here, but also, so you now go over here, which is a good move. It's setting up well, first of all, it's completing a block, not completing, but continuing a block, because they still have a splitter. But most importantly, it's setting up a connection. Maybe you can draw a Dorito and place some meeple over here and fight for this city. Interesting. Well, what can you do? I think maybe still take the quick points. Although yeah, because I don't really want to fight for the city like this, because they're just gonna invest 1 more meeple, and they still gonna outperform you there. If we are to fight for the city, we need a Dorito, I guess, so that we can go over here and then eat up this piece and at least have a chance of building our own side. But really, we'll probably be just looking to take some points, block the city to its completion. And again, they have just like no regard for safety. They don't want to block anything. So if anything, as your opponent, they should really think about what their win condition is. And they should definitely not be just nonchalantly taking a road point. Either they decide that they, in order to win, they need a 25%, or maybe they can go over here and hope for the splitter plus this tile. Or they can go over here and block this ruin completely and say that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12. You know what? I'm going to have 14 points. And I'm happy to invest in meeple for 14 points. So both of these approaches are okay. From Red's point of view, I don't think this one road point does that much for their win percentage. I guess it makes their road slightly less vulnerable against the block. Yeah, because maybe if it put a straight line, it can be blocked next to this. I don't know. Anyway, we don't here to review their game. We're here to review your game. Yeah, okay, so you decided to simply complete the block. Oh, no meeple. I mean, it makes sense to not meeple this, but you could be... I mean, it's really nice and aggressive. So, yeah, you decided to prevent the disaster scenario, which makes sense. Actually, can we be a bit... Because we still have 2 blocking spots. And given that we're not that ahead anymore, maybe we can gamble a little bit. Maybe it's okay to just finish the road and drop a farmer. No, I mean, what you did was alright. It's more secure. They're finishing their monastery. Yeah, you see, and now you do this. They get a monastery, they drop a farm. It's an extremely risky meeple, but it works. You continue your city. They continue their city. You could probably share their city, I think. No. I know it's a shield. Well, it's alright, but I'm not a fan of moves like these, and you know why? Because they just make your city unnecessarily vulnerable. Like with a triple city or something. And you are giving your opponents a chance to complete the city. What I probably prefer, points-wise, is simply going over here and equalizing the city with your last meeple. Then you can still get a meeple back with a city cap and a crossroads, and all you need to draw is... Yeah, I know that you will be sort of sacrificing some monastery points if you draw the monastery. But overall, so what you're saying, with this tile, you're scoring a maximum of 4 points. A maximum of 4 points. If your opponent does not disrupt you. But if you make the same move, you are preventing your opponent from scoring 4 extra points with a city cap. And in both of these cases, this comes without the investment of a meeple. Because here, obviously the meeple is already here. But if you go over here, then the net meeple count is 0 because you're preventing your opponent from taking your meeple off with a city cap. So that's why I think equalizing this city is stronger. Even though it's a shielded tile. Also, if it's a shielded tile, remember, you now have some big tiles to play with. You can go over here, get yourself some winning mini battle, get yourself the same 4 points, and possibly even more, that you're gaining extra from here, except without any further risk, because there's still a boatload of city caps remaining. Oh, look at this! He has a triple city. Oh, and he can disturb you. So you, of course... Yeah? Do we need the meeple back that badly? There's still 3 tiles that go there. And we are about to get permanently blocked. I mean, no, this is alright. We might even meeple the city cap, actually. And try to drop a farmer later. Yeah, maybe this is alright. But I was kind of thinking, my first instinct is to go over here and simply blatantly trying to plow through this city. I know that we still have the splitter available if we can draw it, but if we draw the splitter, okay, we split, and then we take the new city piece. So I probably like being a bit patient here. But okay, this makes perfect sense. It's immediate points, it's the threat of connecting back to the field, and your opponent gets the monastery anyway. They drop a farmer, which is a good move. So now you continue your city, and look at how threatening it would have been had a city cap already been over here. Because we need to remember that this city is still blockable with one move, just one curve. Actually, they can block your city right now. Maybe they even should do it. Just go over here. But they instead decided that they want points. And I can't blame them for that. 6 points is a lot to sacrifice. But from their perspective, they own 2 fields and they own a big ruin. Like, they would be doing just fine without these 4 points. So all they need to prevent is a disaster scenario. You start breaking their city, which is a great idea. They will try to complete their city anyway. And you can't really do much but finish the road. But now we have some meeples to play with. They should try and restrict your city somewhat, and they do, but I think from the wrong side, because they still need to preserve. You see, like, they're actually protecting this square. And so now what you could do, for example, you can, like, if you feel that it's time, you could go here and YOLO a farmer. But I see that you decided to keep some flexibility and I think do something else. You try to block their city instead, and it's a good idea because there's only 1 tile remaining that fits here. And look at that, they would have drawn the splitter. Ooh, a mistake on their part. They take a 4-point city here when they should have taken a 4-point city over here, trying to obstruct your city and preparing a complete block as well. So luckily you get some help from your opponent. Okay, Crafter is saying you were like 15 points behind or so here, which means, yes, if you were 15 points behind, then they would probably should have spent this tile and made this point sacrifice. But it's hard for him to see. Nice move. So you're going for the field and you're going for like a bunch of big cities. I really like this desperation is absolutely called for. They get quick points. You almost finish a city. And will they try and block your city? No, they're going to take some quick points, which also you can't blame them for it. Because they can only make a 50-50 block. They cannot make a full block. Actually, from their point of view, they can just turn the whole game into one big coin flip if they just place this tile over here. If they decide that a 50% chance is good enough for them. Then what happens? That both of you need the exact 1 tile, the starting tile, in both of these places. And so whoever draws it wins the game, and that's it. You are going for additional win conditions, which I really like. Okay, because you can also draw this thing. And now, of course, here, your opponents can and should clinch the game, or not yet, by going over here, preventing you from completing this city. Actually, let's look at the game from their perspective as well. What's the point count? We're at -1, and with the cities 4, 6, so we're at +1 actually as black. Our opponent has 6 points for this field, so we're at -5. And our opponent has 14 points here, so we're at -19. Presumably, we're going to connect. So if this field is shared, then we're going to have a 9-point monastery and a 9-point road. So actually, by going over here, your opponent would ensure that they will stay at +5 in the worst case scenario. Oh, no, +3, because there's this guy. And they're going to still have like a 50% chance of this. And... oh, no. This doesn't count. This doesn't count. Yeah, like the win probability looks actually pretty good for them. Because in order for you to win, you would need to draw this tile. And this tile as well to prolong your city. And even... yeah, then you would like be at +2 something. So it would be very, very close. But they decided to continue. Yes, so you said here even 20 points. But I'm kind of, since we're looking at this from your opponent's perspective for a while, I'm already counting in the points that you would get from completing the roads, taking 5-point road, and taking a monastery. And like, so it's 9. So this monastery I'm counting is not 8, but 14 points. Because it's 9 + 5. Yeah, exactly. So, honestly, like, obviously we can see that your opponent is lower rated and stuff. By the way, you said that this was a turn-based game. Was it like a part of some tournament, or was it just a casual turn? Or is it just a casual turn-based game? Just curious. Yeah, but from your opponent's perspective, it's not that easy to solve endgames like this. Well, maybe it should be easier if it's turn-based and if you're like willing to spend a lot of time on this and so on and so on. Yeah, but what they're doing, they're adding points to your city, and they're saying that if you finish one, I finish the other. So they're adding a bit more variance, but they should not be interested in that because this city is slightly bigger than this city. So they go over here, and you draw the one tile, and yeah, wait, yes. So you connect to the field. Because you need that first. And now they have a chance to block your city completely, which they absolutely should. Yeah. So with this move, you put yourself at like -7, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, let's just check this again. Yeah, so these cities are equal. You are at +8. And your opponent has +1 versus this farmer versus this road. So you are at +7. But your opponent has a 14-point rune over here. So you are indeed at -7. And your opponent can just go over here, make this one simple move, and block your city completely. And this would ensure that you're not scoring 8 points anywhere. Like, where are you scoring 8 points? Okay, well, maybe if you get this, it's like 5, but then they block. And so you need to make up 4 more points. Yeah, like, basically in all scenarios, they win. Well, wait a second. It's a bit tricky. So even after this block, they have a way of losing this game. So the scenario is like this. They go over here. You take the triple city. Then this would give you 5 extra points. So this would put you at -2. And if they draw this tile, they need to go over here in order to block your city from completion, right? And they take 2 points with the last meeple. So they're at +4. and then you draw this tile, and you just take this 5-point road and you win by 1. So even after this block over here, oh man, oh, such a cool endgame, you still have a sequence that gives you a win by 1. And the sequence is exactly this. It is, so what, 1 in 3 chance for you to get this, and then 1 in 2 chance for you to get this. So basically after this move, they would be reducing your win percentage to 1 in 6 or 16%, 17% or whatever. Wow, this is really interesting, but instead of doing this, they just did something well, quite random. Yeah. But it's fine, because like part of your game plan should involve the full information. Like part of your game plan is trying to predict what your opponent might do. So for example, if you're really behind, but you think that your opponent is not going to spend much tile on blocking, then from your point of view, spending a tile on defense earlier would have probably been incorrect, because there's no point in defending if your opponent is not going to block. So these are considerations that should always be there. And interesting, like with comebacks, you know, sometimes you are in a situation where if you can sort of count it out objectively and you see that you don't have the slightest chance of winning, well, then you need to try and think, can you win with your help of your opponent, and can you force them into making a mistake, or can you make a mistake from your opponent more likely? I really like this sort of, and not anti-machine, but like anti-human component of Carcassonne. Anti-human sounded wrong, but like that you know that you're playing against somebody, but you're not playing against a computer, and just simply trying to find all the best move. You know, trying to provoke a mistake, trying to maybe play positions that are either uncomfortable for your opponent or harder for your opponent to navigate. And you can do this against anybody. You can do this against top-level players as well. Well, anyway, so now, of course, we get to witness the sweet. Let's count this out. So it's 5 points for the road, and it is 10 points for the city. Extra 10 points, because an 8-point city turns out into an 18-point city. So it's 15-point move without investment of a meeple. And suddenly you are at +5 after this. Now you're at +3. Yeah, and they sort of just threw in the towel. Interestingly, so you would have gotten... Oh, this is so beautiful. So you actually did get the tiles, but in the wrong sequence. So your opponent would still, if they were to like make that blocking move here, as was correct, then you would need to try and make them and force them into a mistake. I know. Oh, check this out. It's such a sinister plan. Okay, so you see, you drew these tiles that we were discussing in that win condition that are like, if you get blocked, then you get the tiles to complete the city. The problem is you got them in the wrong order, because you put them over here, your opponent can still block, so it's the same type of scenario, but instead of losing by 1 point, they now win by 3 points, because you don't get... Well, wait, do they actually? Wait a second, do they win? What if our opponent is actually a genius and had calculated this? Okay, let me think about this. So you go over here after their block. And then you're still at -7. Yeah, then your opponent goes over here and puts his meeple over here for 2 points. Was it 7 or was it 5? I forgot. I forgot the point count again. Anyway, but obviously, like with your last tile, in this scenario, you would not be able to get enough compensation, right? You would have this tile and you would score 5 points for the same road. So it would be same outcome, but 4 points fewer for you. So you would be losing by 3 points. Yeah, but you see, if you were to take these 4 points, then this is not enough because you have not created a threat, so your opponent doesn't have to block. And on his last move, your opponent could use this tile to go over here and score 4 points, and also prevent you from expanding your ruin. So bad, but you know what will be the plan for winning for us in this scenario? You would need, imagine that this city got blocked. Then you would need to take this tile and put it over here and the key component and drop a farmer. And we do this to trick our opponent into thinking that you want to connect to their 6-point field. And it's not about the city, it's about the 6-point field. Because like if they maybe have not counted out the tiles thoroughly, they maybe make a mistake, and maybe they think, well, if you're dropping a farmer here, surely there must be a road. And then they think, okay, I don't have any meeples, and my opponent is about to connect to the field because they draw this, right? They draw this tile, and maybe they're thinking, well, if our opponent is going to take 6 points for the field, the best that I can do is take 2 points for compensation. Then they continue the ruin, then bam, you draw this, you finish your big city, you win the game, and you get even these extra 3 points for the field. So this, I think, would have been the sneaky plan for you. And if I'm completely honest, well, maybe like against less experienced opponents, when I used to play Arena, I did sometimes win games like this out of a difficult situation. You sort of make a move that like looks like it's creating one threat, but it's actually creating another threat. Yeah, or like sometimes it's a bit more subtle and like not as blatant. For example, if you drop a 3-point farmer or like a 6-point farmer with where it seems like you're trying to connect into the big field, and then your opponent goes out of their way to block, and then it turns out that you never actually had to connect to the field, you just needed your opponent to waste tiles. But yeah, I really think like, oh man, I wish that happened. I wish that actually happened. But then on the other hand, if your opponent knows this block over here, then probably your opponent like knows how to counter this threat. But still gotta try. Well, anyway, you do get even that city, and of course the cheeky 1-point road meeple is absolutely necessary. And from the jaws of complete and utter defeat, you managed to turn this around, which was yeah, seriously, great comeback on your part. And like, one of the things that you did is so... the brilliancy is over here. That you realize that it's not enough for you to connect to finish the city. You need to finish the city and connect to the field, which is just beautiful. So with the tile that looked perfect for the city, you made this move instead. It's counterintuitive and hard to make, and it's completely paid off. You sort of tricked your opponents into making some mistakes and ended up winning the game with a whopping +13, when just a couple of moves ago you were like -5, -8 or something, and had like a 16% zero chance with absolutely perfect play from your opponent, which means with absolutely perfect play from both sides. Wow. Plus 13 on game analysis, episode number 13, of course, cannot be better at all. And I already know how exactly I'm going to pick the games for the next episode. Yeah, so if we just look at a couple of things, there were some opening imprecisions, and for example, well, the initial monastery, I wouldn't call it imprecisions because it is in fact a common opening move. I can't really disprove it, but just this seems to be stronger, and this is in fact, like, if you look at what most master players do master by just the objective measure of ELO 700 plus, this is the monastery placement, just controlling the city cap. Really, with monastery placements, a lot controlling the city cap is important. Then maybe there were a couple of other small things that relate to that city, but of course the game is not about that. It's about all that beautiful, beautiful comeback. Thank you for sharing with us. Hopefully for others it was somewhat entertaining. And as you see, all 3 games that we showed today were wins. All 4 games that I showed today were wins. Most of them kind of blowout wins with a big point difference. And of course, you can't get these big point difference without some help from the tile deck, and in this case, with some help from your opponent as well. But still, it's not just about the tiles. It turns out that there's a lot of moments in these games that are worthy of attention, both from the perspective of our opponents. It does seem that in some of these cases, the loss was preventable or close to being preventable on their part. And also from our perspective, maybe from at some point we could have made our winning chances a little bit higher. Even when the tiles work out for us, there's still some thinking left to do. Well, it has been a long stream. Again, it has been 3 hours for a stream that I planned to just breeze through in like 1.5 hours because, it was easy wins. I thought it would be easy analysis, but no. And I appreciate those of you who are here from start to finish. That's quite a lot on a Saturday night for Europeans, Saturday morning for Western Hemispherians. Next week, we have our usual Games Against Viewers stream, so y'all are welcome to play against me and have a piece of some of that juicy 816 ELO. I'm absolutely happy to share it with you. I'm very happy when my viewers play well, even when it even when it is at my expense. Yeah, so I'll see you next Saturday for some Carcassonne games. I will be working on some regular uploads. We'll hopefully get some soon. The World Championship Recap Part 2 is the next one. It is proving quite laborious, but I want to make sure that it is as high quality as possible. Stay tuned for all that. Thank you all much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.